we're into Parshas TERUMA. And in Parshas TERUMA, there is reference to the construction of the kruvim. Kruvim are described and translated as cherubs, which is just an anglicization of the word kruv, cherub. But the way that we commonly view a cherub is very often depicted by the Renaissance painters as childlike figurines that free float in the air, so to speak. A nice aesthetic touch. And we understand much more profoundly the functionality and dynamics of the kruv. And the kruv was designed in such a way that each of the two kruvim was perched on each end of the aron. The aron had a golden lid, and at each end they had to be fashioned from the lid itself. In one process, the cherubs. In other words, it wasn't a matter of sticking on sculptures of cherubs onto the lid, but from the lid itself, in the process of its being made, had to be also made in one swoop, so to speak, the cherubs themselves, the kruvim themselves. But why? And what is this all about? So we're told that the functions of the two kruvim, the Alter Rebbe explains, is as follows. In the Maimer on this week's Parsha, he says that one of the kruvim's function was to be able to allow us to have a medium of elevating to a much higher place. One of the kruvim took our prayers, our tefillos, and specifically the tefillah of Shema, because Shema means understand. And what do you understand? You want to understand Achdus, Echad, oneness. To hear the teaching to a point where it penetrates our souls and we recognize everything's in a state of absolute unity. And we, through that inner understanding, through the tefillos, 3 times a day, we elevate our prayers to the highest point, the highest level of Atzilus, Chochmah Atzilus. And there, as a consequence of our work, of having worked at elevating ourselves to that higher level, the second kruv takes over and draws down the reciprocal flow from Hashem, which is, if you will, by way of a reward. And through that reciprocal flow from Hashem, the flow of that high level creates the enlightenment in each of the worlds sequentially, right down to the physical world. And we have the Ur of Hashem descending. So there's like a cycle, a circle of functionality here. We elevate through one kruv, and the other kruv draws down Hashem's reciprocal flow. So you have this constant circular creative function. So you can see that the kruv was much more than a pretty picture of a child. And we understand that they had wings. And the idea of the wings was that they actually opened and closed 3 times a day while we prayed, Shachris, Mincha, and Ma'ariv, which is the way of elevating our love and fear, Ahava and Yira, because love and fear are described in the literature as our wings. When you want to elevate yourself, you have a sense of emotional high. The 2 elements of love and fear, they're the 2 wings that allow us to be teleported to the highest level, that teleport our prayers to the highest level, that teleport our learning to the highest levels. So the idea of wings moving means the notion of elevation of our inner work and the resultant flow back down from Hashem, which is like the reward by creating a far greater from the level of Atzilus, the level of Chochmah Atzilus, down to our world. So let's see if we can have a little meditation that can internalize that notion within us. Gently close your eyes and just become aware of your heart, how the heart pumps blood, and the pumping of the blood circulates throughout the whole body. And then, as the blood revives us, feeds our cells, and the blood returns to its source, only to be recircled once again with a fresh flow of blood, so that you and I are a cycle. Then there's the cosmic cycle. Imagine these two kruvim, two cherubs, perched at each end of the aron. Look at one of them, and that one becomes your mechanism of ascent. Through that kruv, be aware that that kruv is going to elevate your prayers, your Torah learning. And now, Shema. Hear, listen to the point where the idea of Hashem and you become one. That we are a mere extension of Hashem. We exist within Hashem. There's nothing separate from Hashem. And yet, Hashem created for us our ability to have a sense of self as if we're separate. 3 times a day, we remind ourselves that we are an extension of Hashem. 3 times a day, our love and awe of Hashem flows through that kruv to the highest level, where the other kruv is there to draw back into each one of us, into the world, Hashem's greater insight, light, and thereby not only making our lives more enlightening, but for the whole world. Spend a moment visualizing the cycle, one kruv to the other kruv, connecting at the highest level, and you and I making a contribution to the world through that elevation. And gently open your eyes, coming all the way back and making that commitment to be aware during tefillah of the cherubs, the kruvim.